welcome to the Other Part podcast where we explore differences through conversation. Just a reminder that this program is not meant for minors and that we're just having a conversation here. We're not telling you how to live your life as only you can make that decision. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the education system in Jamaica. We want to really discuss, is the education system in Jamaica preparing the youths to actually become functioning adults in society today? Joining me in this conversation, I have Ted. Ted, could you go ahead and give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Hi, I'm Ted. I'm 22 years old. I am a psychology major, love to play games, and I'm just a lover of life, and I like to talk to people.
All right, awesome. Thanks for that. All right, so Ted will be representing this conversation on the side of being a part of the Gen Z, and I'll be representing the Millennials. Okay? Get started. I remember in high school, back when I was doing it, they had all of these subjects, and a familiar question that is always asked: when are we going to ever use this in real life? And that question is especially famous if you're in a math class. But that same
Mhm.
question can also be applied to all of these additional subjects. According to cxc.org, when we looked up this information, the following subjects that are offered in high school as of 2021, I am seeing additional math, agricultural science, biology, Caribbean history, certificate in business studies, chemistry, economics, electronic document preparation and management, otherwise known as EDPM, English, geography, home economics, human and social biology, industrial technology, information technology, integrated science, mathematics, mechanical engineering technology, modern languages, music, business administration, physical education and sport, physics, principles of accounts, principles of business, religious education, social studies, technical drawing, theater arts, and visual arts. Previously, I had a conversation with someone else, a friend of mine, about this topic, and I was under the impression that all schools they teach the same thing. They're teaching from the same syllabus and the same content. But I was told this is not true. Do you believe?
Although all the schools follow a mandated curriculum, it depends on who is the teacher, and also the culture of the school, and also the children. So there's a lot of things to factor into a lesson being executed. Teacher has the skills to teach well. They have to be knowledgeable about what they're talking about as well. And what's the culture of the school? Some schools, for example, in a city school, you may not find the boys so willing to learn home economics. So with that culture of that school, how will the students behave regarding the subject? So all of those things, I believe, are involved in the lesson.
You said that the boys may not be willing to learn that subject, home economics, and I understand that from a cultural sense because home economics traditionally is seen as a female course because, in summary, when we think of home economics, what we say is all they do in there is the learn how to wash, clean, and cook. and that's woman's work in the eyes of society. So I get that. But at the same time, I remember being a teenager, being a student in high school, there were a lot of subjects that I really don't care for, but I have to do it and I just didn't have a choice to do it. So I don't get because the student is not interested in that subject, you're going to say that you're not going to bother with it because essentially they don't have that power. So where does that come from?
Well, I think that also comes from, as I said, the teacher, you know, because it's true. You have some teachers will say, well, if the people them don't want to learn this, then I'm not, me not gonna put out my effort, which is definitely understandable, but nevertheless, you are a teacher, you're an educator. That is your job to teach, to put knowledge where it was not in, which is the brain of a student. So it's your job to find creative ways to transmit that knowledge. But nevertheless, with how, each school has their own culture. Schools are a subculture within a culture. And because of that, there can be lots of difficulties. One way to approach it, you just have to take your time and use a sensitive approach. That's what I believe.
That now that you're an adult and you are out of high school, out of school in general, do you believe that high school has actually played its role in preparing you to be an adult?
Boy, um, yes and no. Of course, yes, I learned basic math. I can go to the grocery store. I don't have to wait until I reach the cashier to know the total. We can just work it out in my head. I can speak well, or at least I can speak English well. I can write English well. So on my resumes, when communicating with coworkers, communicating with outside of my personal life, outside of work life, my English teacher helped me to be expressive, know how to speak, know who to speak to, know how to speak to who. Social studies, I learned about Jamaica. I learned about our history. I am more sensitized to what it means to live in our island and the Caribbean. I also know countries in the world, you know, due to science, integrated science and so on. I know how clouds work, how to plant this, what we eat, what happens to us. So definitely as an adult, schooling has definitely helped me to operate within the world. However, um, beyond that, there's many things that we could have learned to help us as adults. For example, we didn't learn how to how to do taxes. The only persons that learned that is people that did accounting, right? But yeah, as adults, you have to do taxes. So once you purchase a vehicle or purchase land, purchase a home, which in order to do that, if you don't have a parent who know how to do it, or if you don't speak with a person at a bank or whatever, you will not know how to do it either. And you will not know the rights and the wrongs regarding those major life adult choices. So a lot of those things school could have definitely taught us. I wish school taught us how to get jobs, but I am seeing that because I'm 22 going 23, so I'm kind of in the middle because I'm near being, I don't really identify with Gen Z because Gen Z is really younger than me, but I do classify within it. But the younger ones from my generation, they're telling me that when they get to like grade 10, they have like a day where they put on the suit and the tie, come in, and they do mock interviews, and they're scored, and they're given tips for when they go out and look jobs. So I'm seeing where schools are definitely stepping up their game in that, but there's a lot that can be done.
I'm 32, so I'm definitely a millennial. And when it comes to preparing for an interview, we didn't really have much. What happened is that a seminar will be held where it's done like one day for a couple hours, normally 2 hours, and it's normally in like a devotion setting. And to be honest, we didn't really even care about it. All we know is that for 2 to 3 hours, we're going to be standing somewhere, or if we're lucky enough, it's held in an auditorium where we can actually sit. And all we know is that, oh, we're not going to have no boring science class or no boring math class that day. And that was good enough for us. Free pass. Because each and every single year, from junior high to senior high, they just repeat the same thing over and over again. It may be a different person, but they come and they literally put on the same performance. Whereas, even if you don't show up that day, if you showed up at the previous years, you don't miss nothing. The only thing you'll probably miss is the little trinkets that they give out if they decide to give one out. Otherwise, from that, in terms of resume writing, that was done in English class, and it always just seems so rushed. It's treated as if, okay, we have to do this, we're going to choose this week to do it, and we just talk about it for 3 days. Whether you catch it or don't catch it, you're on your own. Go find out for yourself. But yeah, I definitely see where they're definitely making improvements on that. But should we be in the position to be parents like tomorrow? Whose job is it to go forth and make the change, or is it that our future generations are literally stuck and where they need to wait until those in power decide to do better?
Hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a that's a tough one. I won't lie. That's a tough one. Well, I believe the responsibilities are on us because we are the ones who are becoming parents. More so you than me, but there's people in my year group who graduated high school in 2015, like girls and boys who have children. So therefore, both my generation and your generation, we are becoming parents, raising children. And in my case, as children, because in many ways we have yet to holistically develop and mature, but nevertheless, such is life, Sometimes you won't know you're ready completely for a task until you give it a go. But nevertheless, this is a child. A child is not. This is a whole human being. When people like to say how, oh my God, imagine giving birth, like you just brought a whole human being into the world. And that's precisely it. We are bringing human beings into the world and what education awaits them. So I feel like, say, our generations need to lobby. We need to speak up and speak with the powers that be, which is the Ministry of Education, because, and I'm going to be honest, the Ministry of Education is largely filled with a bunch of old people. Okay, and yes, they have the experience, but they themselves don't know what the landscape for us as young people coming out of high school, entering adulthood is. They don't know. And they love to put us, well, not all of them, but many of them love to put us down for not knowing certain things, not being able to do certain things. But that's the thing. They learned it as they went along in their lives. We haven't learned it yet. We're fresh. We're just born, as how they would love to put it, right? We are still babies. So therefore, there's so much more for us to learn. And so therefore, I think the responsibility is definitely on us, because if they don't know what we need to learn, who are going to tell them? No must we? So is we for true, but also them. But as I said, if they don't know, they won't do anything. And clearly, them not know.
Yeah, I definitely agree that they don't know. And then some of them, I also do believe that they underestimate as to how bad it really is. Because let's put it this way. I've worked at some places and I see persons who are coming for a job, and some basic things that I knew about preparing for a job or preparing for an interview. These persons who are younger than me, they literally don't have a clue, and they're getting a rude
Mm-hmm.
awakening when they show up to the
Mm-hmm.
interview. And
Oh God. So
when
100%.
either the security or the HR personnel is getting into their skin, and you can see it on the
Mm.
person's face that they really don't know any better and they don't see what's wrong with what they're doing.
Yep.
So it's like, what's happening here? So we have persons who really don't know, and they, even in this era where information is on the internet, we don't know where
Mm-hmm.
to look. We really don't know where to look.
No, no. Yes, I agree that sometimes we don't know where to look, but just like how if we want to find a movie and we just type in the name of the movie and we just click, scroll until we see it, we can type in,
I disagree with this.
we can type in outfit for interview. We can type in what should I do at an interview. We can type in interview tips or workplace this, you know what I'm saying? We can type it in. We definitely can. But the thing is, we don't have the thought in our heads, unfortunately, to say, let me do some research. And I don't know why that is, but we rather just take what we know and we execute it. And unfortunately, as you said, many of us are met with a rude awakening, which makes us feel terrible. But I honestly cannot say that we don't know where to go, because, as I said, just like how we want to watch a movie or want to search something on YouTube, is the same way. You go on it, you want to Google, and you type in what you want and what you want to see, and it'll be there. It'll be there.
Okay. My problem with that is when it comes to looking up information as a Jamaica for information that relates to Jamaica, it's so hard. It's so hard. Because even in the age of technology, finding information that relates to my own country of Jamaica, it is almost non-existent. All of these places, business places, even the government entities, they're talking about, oh, we have our website, we have social media. But when you go on their website and social media, it is utterly pointless. The only thing that I go on their website for is to find out what the email address is, what the physical address is, and what their phone number is. Any other information that I personally see on their website, it is mostly irrelevant because the information that they put on their website, it's outdated, or if it's not outdated, they only just put the bare minimum information. So then you still have to waste your time to make a phone call, send an email, or waste taxi fare and 5 hours just to go down to the office to ask one question, simply because they don't put it on their own website. A perfect example of that is that, unfortunately, even at my age, I am unaware of my rights as an employee. I am not aware as to what is legally correct or what is legally acceptable as when my employer decides to throw these contracts at us at short notice and tell us that we can't carry it home. We have to sign it now. You ask for a copy, they say you don't need a copy because you read it now. It sounds shady, but where do I go online to find that? If I type in rights as an employee, the first thing that's going to come up is information that applies to USA. USA laws versus Jamaican laws are so different. The documentation that is online for Jamaican laws, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a PDF document, which is an official document that is used by legislators and the government itself, which is dated 1940 something or 1920 something. And reading that is a headache because of it's not written in plain English. There's a lot of big words and legal terminologies where you're not too sure what exactly that means and it's subjective to interpretation. So that really in itself is not much help either. So that's why I disagree with you in regards to that when you're saying that we can just Google it. We really can't.
Then I suppose it depends on what, well, rather, I guess what I should have said was some things we do have access to. Because, yes, you're right. In that regard, unlike, laws and stuff like that. Yeah. But nevertheless, there's certain things that we do have access to because either there isn't any specific context for us as Jamaicans, or that context is actually there somewhere on on the internet, and we just have to look for it. But yeah, you're right. You're definitely right because that is a major problem. Okay, right. So I remember going onto the Ministry of Education's their website, and there were some links that were not up to date. All the info, some stuff wasn't there. So yes, I do agree. But as I said, if you look at it, it depends on what. So just like how I was saying, those youngsters that you saw go for a job and they never dressed well, they never conducted themselves well, they could have prevented that had they had done basic research. But in the same breath, persons like me and you, because that has happened to me as well, where me get the contract and them tell we say we must read it then and there and sign it and return it. Even if we wanted to Google what are our rights, chances are we're not going to find. And if we do, as you said, it's like a bunch of jargon that you're not going to understand. And it's like, who do you have to call upon that they can like explain this to you in a
Uh,
1-2 ABC?
yeah, and the senior adults or elderly, they normally respond, "Oh, just call the ministry, just call the ministry," as if it's so easy. And I'm like, are you serious? Do you understand the amount of credit I would have to put on my phone up to take up my phone to first find the correct number for the ministry, as the number that's on your own website may possibly be incorrect or out of service. So by the time you get the right number, you're transferred about 20 times if you're not hung up on, and then you're placed on hold and all of these extravagant things. So you'd be on the line for a good 45 minutes even before you're finding the correct person to speak to. And then, even then, they're giving you so much attitude and they're being rude about it when they're literally the source of information. So I really don't get it. People really, they're just so unwilling to pass on the knowledge and make it seem like it's so easy to get it when it's really not. But throughout our conversation, I am hearing the voices of some senior adults where they're probably going to
Uh,
say the following message: the onus is on you to learn the things that you wanted to learn
yes.
and didn't learn in high school. Um, what are your what's your rebuttal to that?
True. It's true. It's true. No, I can go first. It's true. It's true. I will not lie. It is true. It's my education because I'm the one who's going to be using it. However, you will be a fool to think that just because I am the student, as if I know that I have that much power on my education. As far as it concerns me, the time that my education was put into my hand, as far as like how I can see it and feel it, was when I pursued tertiary studies, right? Because up until that level, you're really learning because you're being told to learn. So therefore, it's kind of and it's kind of stupid to make such a statement. Like the statement is true; it is our education, and thus we should value it. But at the same time, it's not so black and white because I wasn't put on this earth because I wanted to put on this earth. I was not put in this school because I wanted to go to school. My parents put me in school and told me that education is the way to go. And now I am experiencing all these struggles regarding school, the struggles of how to learn English, math, etc. as I am growing and maturing. And thus, it's not a easy statement to just throw out there, which is why, in some modern day teaching methods, some teachers are allowing students to pick what they want to learn, or rather how they would like to learn. And what this does is it gives the students an active role in their education, and it helps them to see the value of their education, because at the end of the day, you expect us to learn. So therefore, we deserve a role in that as well.
Yeah, that is very much correct. Because what I see happening is that they're going to continue using that statement, and then that statement is literally going to replace their career. I'm a child for a reason. According to law, and anybody who's been around children or has children know that a child doesn't necessarily know what is in their best interest. So you telling me that the onus is on me to learn, um, to get an education, then why are you here as an educator? Your presence is redundant, especially now, whereas in the age of technology, you can find the entire course on YouTube. So, if the onus is on me, I don't need you. I just need YouTube and internet. And
Mm-hmm.
so, literally, you're telling me to replace you with a robot, which I really don't mind doing, because being crammed in a class of 30 to 40 odd students where I am suffering and you can't be bothered because you have 40 odd people to pay attention to, you can't manage the load. So I'll just excuse
Uh-huh.
myself and go to YouTube and find a content creator who's able to deliver the course material in a way that I will understand, and I'll just teach myself at
Right.
home on my own time and just show up for the exam and goodbye. And I don't,
Mhm.
and they don't see it that way. And every time I hear persons use that statement, the onus is on you, the onus is on you, it just seems like such a cop out. Like they really don't know what else to say and they've been backed into a corner and they want to throw it back on you and then they whip that line out and think that they won the argument. But come on.
Mhm.
It just seems so defeat. It's like a defeatism attitude. You decided to choose this career to be a teacher and you're going to say that you have a
Right.
responsibility to educate the youths of our future. You are literally molding the future of the country. Don't so that disgusting message that teachers are known for saying, I don't already have my education. If you don't want to get one, then tough luck. But
Right.
what but long term look at it. You're telling us that, not thinking that we're literally going to be the ones who's going to be in charge of your pension and tells and
Mhm.
stipulate the rules as to how that goes. So I'm like, so is wouldn't you like to take a little extra step to ensure that when you become an invalid, an elderly
Mhm.
that will actually want to take care of you versus shove you off in a home and only visit you when it's Christmas time and maybe your birthday if we feel like it.
Right. Right. It's a very good question to ask. We are the ones who are populating the labor force, and there isn't enough of us because why we keep leaving Jamaica, and thus they have to, the retirement age is being pushed on them more and more and more, so it's being increased, and thus they cannot retire.
Hmm.
Right? So if they don't help us to take our education seriously, we will not be there to help them in turn to take over so that they can go home, rest, and earn a pension.
Exactly. Exactly. So, with the persons who are going to address us in regards to the math issue, to say that you don't have any cognitive or any spatial thinking, you're not using your brain, you're not intelligent. But these very same individuals or the math oriented people, they're not exactly the image of intelligence either. They
Mm-hmm.
don't display the ability to use spatial thinking in their everyday
Right.
lives, but yet they expect us to do it when they fail to do it in their everyday lives. Why are you buying a car that you can't afford and justifying it saying that that's the end thing, or you're trying to keep an appearances? Why do
Mm-hmm.
you own a cell phone that costs $150,000 and you can't afford credit to put on it?
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense. That's basic math. You can't afford it, live within your means. But funny enough, they are the ones who are good at math, but yet they
Mm-hmm.
keep on acting like a basic bitch.
Right.
Do you think that the changes in the educational system, there is significant progress to say that there is hope for our younger generation so that they'll eventually get it right, to say that they're functioning, contributing members of society?
Right. All right. Comparison to what
Oh,
you learned, what
yeah,
our parents learned.
yeah,
Yes, 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 without a doubt. However, there's a lot more to go. I will not downplay it because at the end of the day, just it's a learning curve because the reason why the older generation teachers and those that be not teaching us what we should be learning in some aspects because they don't know because they didn't learn it either. I'm saying, but at the same time, they did what they could. So no, it's not. Everything. There's a lot more that we can learn, a lot more that we should learn. So I'm just hoping that with time it does become, you know, better like the generation Gen Z that's coming up now, that they will be learning some more. Not everything that they should be learning, but perhaps one or two more life topics that they should be learning. So they may not learn how to buy a house, buy a car, to file the taxes, you know what I'm saying? But instead of, all right, so for example, they may not learn all three of those, but rather they will learn at least one of them, So I'm very hopeful on that, especially because there's a lot of young people, in my generation and yours who are going into education and adding their knowledge and trying to transform the system. So therefore, we can only be hopeful.
Right. Yes, I definitely am agreeing with the statement that I'm definitely seeing the hope just from this conversation, comparing your education to my education, as well as
Mm,
comparing to what I know that my elders have gone through. I definitely
right,
see
right.
the improvements, and that is
Mm,
actually definitely good. But throughout the conversation, though, those who know, you need to take your time with those who really don't know and stop being
yeah.
such a hard ass, because we definitely can improve the statistics in regards to the pass rate of courses, and we definitely have the resources to
Mm-hmm.
foster a lot of skills and abilities, but we're really not really investing the time that we should to do that. But as they said, it really does take a village to raise a child,
Uh-huh.
and overall, parents actually do need to actually get more active in their child's education and not just leave it all to school to fix it for them.
Right.
All right, so thank you so much, Jed, for joining me on this session, and we'll see you next
You're
time.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I really enjoyed our discussion.
Thanks for listening. This has been Mr. Fox, and I'm looking forward to joining you with another conversation next time. And please remember, you can always follow us on social media. You can just type in oddapart on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. And don't forget YouTube. So that is ODDAPART. See you next time.